Good morning, everyone. All right, so feel free to turn your screens on if you like, so I can see some of you. I'm not sure how many of us are joining live this morning. I'm here in the clinic this morning. This is where I do my homeopathic consultations. And feel free. Hey, Trish. Hey, Tiff. Oh, this is exciting. So, I didn't put it in the preparation notes. Of course, I was going to forget something, but if you could make sure that you have something to write on, so a journal and a pen, or even just a piece of paper, because after we do our meditation, I'm going to get you to write a little bit about just what comes up for you. So if you could make sure that you have something to write on, that would be wonderful. Hi, Laura. Nice to see your face. All right. So I'll give us a couple of minutes for anybody to come on that might not be on yet. I know Regan's popping in and out. We're not going to have a terribly long call this morning because I definitely don't want to take up too much of your Saturday morning. So has everybody got their infusion strained and ready to go? Beautiful. Our beautiful burdock infusions.
Morning, Kelly.
Good morning. Who's talking to me? Is that Tiff? Hi,
Yeah,
Tiffany.
me. Hi, I actually started drinking mine because I thought you meant to drink it straight away.
No, we drink it as a meditation together.
Okay,
So
now I
don't
know.
drink anymore. Just wait.
Okay, we'll do. Can I also ask a question?
Yeah, of
So at
course.
the bottom of that infusion, what I noticed was it was very darker at the bottom,
Mm-hmm.
but obviously it had been sitting overnight. Are you meant to shake it at all, or no? It's okay to like get the color dark throughout the whole thing. You meant to shake it more, or no?
Yeah, it's nice to give it a bit of a shake. I mean, it kind of, as you drain it, it
It
like it
shakes.
kind of tips up anyway, but I usually give it a shake just so I'm getting like all of that good stuff into the strained version of it kind of thing. But you
Awesome.
could also use like your leftover burdock that is left over. You could make a decoction of that later on in the day. So burdock you can get a bit out of. So you could reboil that in a pot of water and boil it until the water like decreases by or reduces by about 50%. And then you could have that as another infusion, or you could add it to like a stock or something like that. So
Okay.
I'll give you some ideas on, and you can also just put it in the garden because it's so nutrient dense that, you know, what I often do with mine is just fill it up with water and water some plants with it and just tip everything into the garden. So it's you adding that nutrient to the garden.
Yeah, a good idea. Okay, thank you.
No worries. All right. I'm going to keep my camera off for this morning. And regs, I'm aiming for about 40 minutes, maximum an hour. So let's get started. All right. So if you've got something to write with and your infusion. So this morning, I'm going to turn this on speaker just so it records that way, hopefully. And if you could all just make sure you're on, I think everyone's on mute. All right, so first and foremost, let's just take a moment to get into our bodies. And what we're going to do this morning is we're actually going to do a short amount of time doing the breathwork practice or the Kriya practice that I'm going to give you to complement the burdock for the 30 days. And the intention there, we're working with a practice called Pranavayu Kriya, or the first part of Pranavayu Kriya, which is just like, it's a fancy yoga name for like a breathwork practice and a little bit of a meditation. But we're just going to be doing the breathwork practice because this whole kind of 30 days that we're doing is really about coming back to simplicity and coming back to foundations and really like getting rid of everything that's not needed and looking at the foundational pieces of our life, like what's essential, and really refining that so that we can, because once we're embodied in those things, it's easier to add other things on slowly and embody them one at a time, so that we're kind of laying simple things on top of each other. So even though it can look more complex from the outside, because we've just done one thing at a time as much as possible, we're really focusing on simples and simple changes and one thing at a time. And autumn is a really beautiful time to be doing that because, you know, nature lets go of everything that's not needed, draws in, and then just starts to build slowly, you know, under the ground and one at a time. So we're drawing all our energy back in. And this Kriya practice, this breathwork practice, is really about taking in what we can, but then holding it in as long as we can and letting it out slowly, and building our internal energy from a place of just learning to get the most out of a small amount. And it can also help us, so Pranavayu Kriya can help us organically make the choice to rest, as well as establish a greater sense of internal energy. So I feel like it's really complementary to this time of year and to the practice and to working with burdock. Okay, so if you just take a moment to close your eyes and listen to the sounds that you can currently hear. So you might be able to hear the sounds of people around you, maybe in another room, the sound of your breath. I'm in a very quiet little box here, but you might be able to hear the morning sounds of birds. And attune yourself to sensation and to breath and to sound. So what can you feel in your body? And this is what we're going to keep coming back to: sensation, sound, body, breath. And from this place of presence, I'd like you to take a moment to just silently acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land that you are on, sorry. So for me, here in Wollongong, it's the Dharawal Nation. And so we honor the Dharawal people, the Wadi Wadi tribe specifically, and their ongoing connection to land, to water, to sky, the arts, to spirit. And something that I like to do is just imagine us sitting on the land that we're currently on. So for you, it might be somewhere different. You know, when there was nothing else here, just sitting yourself on the bare earth. And just take a moment to feel yourself, you know, in reverence of the land and in reverence of the traditional custodians of this land. And really connected to your intention to reignite that sense of place and belonging on land within yourself. Now, with this breath work practice, we're working with a ratio of breath. And so it's quite simple. We're working with a ratio of 1 to 2. And so for you, that might look like inhaling 4, holding for the count of 8, and exhaling for 8. And even that might feel a bit strained, and that's okay. Just lower the numbers, particularly the hold and the exhale if needed, and work where you can currently work. There's no room for perfection here. Your breath, you don't want your breath to feel strained at any time. And you might find over the course of 30 days that you can, work your way up to perhaps inhaling for 6 and holding for 12 and exhaling for 12, or maybe it's inhaling for 6 and holding for 10 and then exhaling for 12. But just let yourself be where you're at and work as closely to the ratio as you can. And you'll find that your capacity to work with this breath will change as you work with it daily. And I'll talk a bit more about doing that as a practice later. But for now, just observe your breath, and we're going to do a normal breath in between. So we'll do a breath to prepare. Just inhale and exhale. And we'll all work with 4 to begin. So take a deep breath in, inhale 2, 3, 4. Hold for up to the count of 8. Let go earlier if you need to. And then exhale slowly for the count of 8. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Then a normal breath. We're taking a normal breath in between. So just a normal soft breath to let your body soften and relax. And you'll probably find there's a sense of, after that breath, particularly if you're not used to doing this kind of breathing ratio. And then we'll do another round of the 4, 8, 8. So when you're ready, inhale 4, 2, 3, 4, hold. And then release very slowly and evenly. Normal breath. And on your next breath, inhale 4 evenly. Hold. And slow, soft release. Normal breath. We'll do about 3 more rounds that you'll lead yourself through. So perhaps it's inhale 4, hold 8, exhale 8. Perhaps you're comfortable with breathing practices like this and you go up a little bit, wherever you want to work. And a normal breath in between. So just 3 more rounds together. Or on your own, rather. Remember to have a normal breath in between each round. This just helps your nervous system totally decompress. And so just finishing up wherever you are, allow yourself to have the last exhale, and then let your breathing return to its own natural rhythm. And observe how you feel. Come back to sounds within your body and around you, sensation, body and breath. Notice the softening. And then without disturbing yourself too much, I'll invite you to take your infusion of burdock and you can unscrew your lid. And bring your infusion up to your nose and just smell. Notice the smell and notice, how that subtle energy of the plant moves into your airway. And because we're attuning ourselves to sensation, what are the subtle sensations as the exhale of that plant moves its way up into your inhale? What do you notice? What qualities does this plant evoke for you just purely by smell? Does it smell familiar? And then bring your cup or your jar to your heart, and I want you to just allow burdock to rest in the frequency or the energy of your heart. And let your body know that this plant is very safe to drink, is safe for all to drink. It's a very nourishing herb and nourishing root. So let your body know that it's safe for you to drink in, soak in this herb. And then even if you feel silly, I'd like for you to just gently whisper to the plant, to burdock, and say, "Good morning, burdock. My name is Kelly, Trish, Laura, whatever your name is. I'm really excited to meet you, or I'm really excited to get to know you a little better. And I really invite the spirit of burdock to be present." So you can just whisper into the into the jar. "Good morning, burdock. I hope the spirit of burdock will be here with us." So you're just introducing yourself like you would to any teacher, any person that you meet. And then you can dip your hand in if you like, and you could either just anoint the crown of your head and all of the chakra points if that kind of resonates with you. Or you could, if there's a part of your body that feels like, it needs a little bit of extra love, maybe you've got a sore shoulder, maybe you just want to put it on a shoulder. You could lift up and put it on your belly. I'm very tucked in this morning, so I'm not going to. But, and you know, putting it on each of the chakra points, if that feels right for you this morning, and just again observe. Allow burdock to soak into your skin. We're slowing right down, observing sensation in the body. And when you're ready, we'll begin to drink. So you can bring burdock up to your mouth and drink, and you might hold the liquid in your mouth, just taking these first sips and observe what you feel, what qualities the plant starts to evoke in you. Do you feel a desire to sip slowly, or do you feel like you want to gulp this plant down? And feel free to take in the infusion however you feel called to do this morning. And as you do, follow the swallow. So follow the sensation of the swallow as it moves down into your body. And pay attention to the sensations that arise from the most subtle to, you know, the deeper and more obvious. So you can drink as little or as much of the infusion as you like. I always gulp them all down. I know some people only have a small amount and still can get a very clear introduction to the plant. And without putting pressure on yourself to notice anything or to feel anything, inquire, what kind of qualities does it feel like this plant is upward moving or downward moving, or expanding or contracting, warming or cooling? Where in your body does burdock want to travel to? If you continue to follow the swallow, where does this plant go? And does it have a masculine or a feminine energy, or perhaps neither? What do you notice? There's no right or wrong. Do you notice any visual, understandings of burdock, or visual messages from burdock? Or is it purely sensation, perhaps incredibly subtle, perhaps just a calming sense? What do you notice? And then you might gently ask burdock to reveal itself to you, to reveal the spirit of burdock to you in your mind's eye as perhaps a landscape or a being or an entity or an animal. What form does the spirit of burdock take on for you? And again, we're not putting any pressure on ourselves to see or experience anything. For so many of us, we come up against a lot of cultural barbed wire to have these kind of experiences. And for many, it might be your first. So just gently let burdock know that you are open to receiving the spirit of burdock in whatever way they wish to present to you this morning. How do they move? Is there anything unique that you notice? Perhaps it's just color. Perhaps it's sensation. And you might ask burdock if he has any messages for you this morning, anything that they would like to share with you this morning. And if you were to ask burdock for a hands-on healing, you might notice their hands or some part of them reaching out towards you. What part of your body do they go to? What part of your body does burdock want to touch at the request for your hands-on healing? And I'd like you to then also ask burdock, what can I do for you? What's most important to you, burdock? And what can I do for you to help you do your work in this world? And usually plants give whatever they ask of us is usually going to be quite beneficial to us as well. But we show them the respect of this offering of what can I do for you? And then as we get ready to close, you might just like to take a moment to silently thank burdock for this experience, even if it was very subtle, even if you didn't notice much at all. That's okay. We thank the plant for the opportunity to get to know it. Not every person that we meet opens up to us immediately. Some people take time, that's okay. Thank you, it was lovely to meet you. And from here, I'd love for you to just take a few minutes to journal and just continue to write. So kind of a stream of consciousness, right, about, you know, what you experienced. And sometimes we find that some of the messages or feelings that arise for us come out a little bit clearer as we start to write. So I'm going to give you about 5 minutes to just write down about your experience. You can keep drinking if you like. And then we're going to have a little share. So I'm just going to mute myself for a moment and I'll be back in 5 minutes. So if you're still writing, you can keep writing. But I just thought I would see if anybody would like to share anything that came up for them. One of the most beautiful things that we do in our in-person plant meditation circles is share about, you know, how we experience the plant, and it can be really nice to hear other people's experiences. So you can feel free to either raise your Zoom hand, or there's not that many of us, so you can also just, oh, there's Reg's face. Nice to see you, Regan. Or you can just unmute yourself. I think we can see if that works. There's not too many of us. Sure, we can be civilized with that. Or it might be one of those times where everybody sits back. Ah, there we go, Regan.
Hello, good morning. I'm happy to share. It was very cool. I actually felt straight at the beginning, maybe it was just because I was sitting still in like meditation, but I felt like quite emotional to start with, almost like I was being wrapped up by like, like when you're a kid and you're sick from school and perhaps like you had your mom or someone to look after you. I kind of got that that feeling, and that was like so nice, but
Mhm,
made me feel quite emotional.
mhm,
And yeah, and then just through that process, what really came up was like the spirit was almost like one of those birds with the long tails that was moving quite fast, but it was going to create its nest. And I got this real feeling of like I needed to, and it's all about kind of really kind of clearing out um and making something from what I've got, and then taking the time to sit still on that nest afterwards.
nice.
So almost like a spring clearing kind of thing, but then building my nest and then making sure I sit still and like kind of reap the therapeutic benefits of that.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah.
Beautiful. And I think it's such a beautiful kind of thing to be reminded of for autumn, right? And for this time when I think the weather and the season really calls us to slow down a little bit and nest a little
Mm.
bit. So that's really lovely. Thanks, Regs.
Pleasure. Thank you.
Would anybody else like to share? Hi, Trish. Go for it.
I'll share. Good morning. Yeah, I've never had it before, so it was really
Oh,
interesting
nice.
to, have that experience. And I guess for me, my morning kind of started quite chill, and I had a little smell before we got into meditation, and I just got this overpowering sense of, when you put out a fire
Mm-hmm.
almost, and that smell that a fire gives after you've put it out. That's what I kind of got from the smell. And then when we were doing the meditation, I actually saw a bird in my visualization as well. It just kind of flew off like this black bird in the distance, which was kind of cool. And I felt when you invited the medicine of the plant, I kind of felt it all swirling around my chest, and I could feel like a heaviness and like that kind of like a wave
Mm-hmm.
motion. Yeah, and she just like I felt like she was a bit of this feminine quality. Um, yeah, and what came up for me was she isn't reserved in her essence.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of like what she was telling me. She's just all in. This is me. There's no reservation. And just how wise she is. I also just pulled out a little card. I asked her what goddess she would be if she was one. And
Mm.
I'll just share. That's what kind of came up.
Oh, beautiful. Do you know
Um,
anything about that card or that goddess,
no,
Trish?
no, well, I mean, the Tao, all I know really about it is the how it was later Lao Tzu later wrote the
I Ching.
Tao. Yeah. So I'm not really like I've opened it up, but I'll share in the group later
Yeah.
what that's about. But yeah, I don't know, I was just curious. I thought if you're a goddess, who would you be? And yeah,
Yeah,
that's
beautiful.
about it. Thank you,
Thanks,
Kel.
Trish. Thanks for sharing. So Steph has written, it was my first time drinking burdock that I know of. For me, burdock came as a young tree, a hint of masculine energy, but not sure, by a stream of fresh water gently cascading down over smooth rocks. Drinking was surprisingly gentler than I imagined from smelling the dried root, almost like cool filtered water, super clear, almost invisible, but with a hint of subtle woodiness at the end. Beautiful, Steph. I experienced sensation along the inside of my arms. I love reading this because this reminds me of, I don't get much when I'm leading the meditation, but this is kind of what I get when I meditate with burdock. I experience roots in the ground and water trickling, like being cleaned as it trickles around the roots, and a really strong masculine energy, like I'm being just held by like masculine strength. And that's something that I often crave. So I really love burdock. Like burdock feels like it lets me, like allows me to let the pressure off my partner, you know, because I get some of the things that I'm looking for from burdock. And that's something that one of my teachers talks about, that you know, we often put all this pressure on people in our lives, and particularly partners, to be like funny and strong and helpful and, you know, like sensitive and but also look after us and all these things. But she said when we start you know, getting to know the plants as their own spirits, then we can get a lot of the things that we're seeking in relationships from the more than human world. And I think that's a really beautiful idea to work with that. So we could have, if there is anybody else, we could have one more share. Is there anybody else that would like to share? No.
I'll share if no one else is. I'll just have to let someone else go. I'm not a hugely visual person, so I didn't receive. I take that back. I am, but not really in meditations. But what I felt I got from it is I felt a lot calmer. I felt like it had this presence. I felt it was a hint towards the masculine as well. And as you said, what you said about it being, you know, I felt like it held me. Yeah. I felt like it was a presence in my heart. I also can relate to Steph's almost like the woodiness, the earthiness and grounding. So that was pretty cool. I will also admit, being a bit open here, when I asked how I could help it, I almost felt a blockage. So the blockage that I felt was, it's like my mind, I don't know if it was my mind or the root, if that makes sense. It's like when I asked it how I could help it, like I felt like it just took me to my, you know, one of my issues that is raw at the moment in my life, a situation that happened that is bringing up something for me, but I actually don't know if it's just my mind being like, you know, if it could be my mind coming over, rather than it being the root itself, because actually before that, so that brought up a little bit of different energy, but the burdock roots energy before that I actually felt was super calming and really gentle, and I didn't feel like it was so
the plant speaking as opposed to perhaps your mind interjecting.
I'm not entirely sure, and I tried to stay open in that, but when I tried too hard, I guess I just felt like I closed up, but I still felt in the whole meditation, it's like the most calmest I've felt in so long. Especially after having a baby. It was beautiful overall. Thanks,
Tiffany. Thanks for sharing. Oh, it's so nice to hear your stories. And I just love here. It's like one of my favorite things in the world, hearing what comes up for people. And the difference in things, but also how like within that difference, there's lots of like similar themes that come up. And, you know, some of us have experienced similar things, but then Regan and Trisha's experience is quite similar. So it's really, really fascinating. I find it really fascinating. So, what I would like you guys to do from here is to commit to drinking an infusion of burdock every day for 30 days, preparing it how we've done it. Ideally, you drink it first thing in the morning on an empty stomach, or as much as you can on an empty stomach. But in saying that, there's no room for perfection. So, you know, if you forget to make your infusion before you go to bed, then just make it when you remember. And you could brew it for 4 to 6 hours, or if you feel like, you know, if you don't remember until 5 o'clock and you really want some, you could also make it like a decoction. So, you know, put it on the stove, cover it up, and brew it until the water reduces to 50%. So, and that's going to bring out different things as well. And, you know, I would say if you can, I'm going to put up a recorded meditation so that you can meditate with burdock like this in your own time. And it would be lovely, like, to maybe do that once a week or something like that if you get the opportunity. But again, just, you know, if you can have a few moments where you sit quietly with it each day, amazing. If you're gulping it down while getting children ready for school and, like, you know, like running around doing laundry and stuff like that, or whatever you're doing, then do that, you know, just do what you can do. And again, another thing that I would love for you to do for each of the 30 days is the Pranavayu Kriya. And I don't think I've put it up yet, but I'm going to upload it today, a video on how to do that Kriya practice. But it's not so much like a guided meditation video. It is similar to what we did this morning, but it's more an explanation video so that you can do it yourself. And as I've mentioned in the past, like, this is something I often do when I'm putting my I keep calling her a baby. She turns 2 in a couple of weeks. But when I'm putting my 2-year-old to sleep, I'm often doing like some kind of breathwork practice or something like that. So you again, let go of things having to be perfect, let go of the idea that you need to have a beautiful setup and, you know, 40 minutes to do your meditation and your breath work, or that they have to be done together. Just make it work for you. And then really all else we're going to be doing is assessing like where you're sending your energy out in the world, and if it's a necessary place for you to be sending it. So, you know, we often get in the habit of giving our energy to different things, different people, different situations, different actions that we might do. But, you know, at the change of season, and particularly this change of season, it's nice to kind of like really fill ourselves back up and call everything back, and then disperse our energy from a place of fullness. And so I'm going to be like I'm aiming for putting 1 a day, but, you know, also I'm a mum. And so I might put like a few on one day and another few on another day. So it might not be there's one that pops up daily. I'm letting go of perfection in the way that I'm running the challenge. So of just ideas of ways that you can come back to simplicity. And so you might be journaling on, you know, ways to come back to balance, ways to come back to simplicity in your own life, and things that you might be able to let go of and cut back, just so that you can hold more of your own energy within you, because that's what we're practicing doing in that breathwork practice. We're taking an inhale, and it's not like we're doing a long inhale. Comparatively, it's quite short. So we inhale and then we hold the breath, and you watch the way that the breath continues to nourish you even as you hold it, and then you send that energy out slowly. And so if we use it as a metaphor for what we're doing in our lives, we take in nourishment from around us, take it in, and we hold it in our body, and we let it to continue to nourish us. And rather than just spending it really quickly and, you know, giving our energy and our attention out to everything all at once, we practice the art of letting it be a really smooth, slow giving out of our energy. Okay. So now I did want to talk a little bit about burdock. We're kind of running out of time. So I'm going to put some information up about burdock in the website. So where there'll be more things added to that menu. But so burdock it's a root, and it's got these big leaves. So and also these flowers that have got kind of like needles, spiky needles that stick together like Velcro. So if you get the two flowers together, they kind of stick together like Velcro. And I believe that's where the idea for Velcro came from, somebody observing the flowers of the burdock plant. But we're drinking the roots. So generally, once a burdock plant is gone through one season, then you would harvest the roots. I've got a burdock plant in my garden, and unfortunately, I thought that it would flower over summer, but it mustn't have got enough sun, so it didn't flower. But it's got these enormous leaves. So I'll take a photo of those leaves and send it into you, or put it in the group chat so you can see it. But it's a nourishing herb, so it's incredibly nutrient dense. So in the wise women tradition, you know, this practice of simples, we're usually working with some of the most nourishing herbs. And it's also considered like a blood purifier and supports the liver and all of the organs of elimination. So it really works with the lymph system, really great for kidneys and like clearing out. So a nice like way to really move things through the body and to detoxify. So when we think about that, it's really great for skin conditions. But what can happen when we're drinking it regularly is you might find that you get a little bit of a breakout when you first start drinking it, because it is that a detoxifying plant. It can bring everything. What the body does so intelligently is it moves any kind of anything that's not working for us in our system. It's always going to be trying to move it to the most superficial organ or to a place that's less important. And so for us, that's the skin is one of the organs of elimination. And so, you know, we would rather be having these things come out on skin from a body intelligence perspective than, say, in an organ that's much deeper. And so you may find that you get a little bit of a breakout, but as you keep working with it, it should clear. And it's said to be that like that kind of deep acting, like detoxifier and clearer, that I've heard some herbalists say that people that have worked with burdock, like that have worked in jobs where they've had lots of chemicals, say like hairdressers, that as they've worked with burdock for a prolonged period of time, they've smelt the smell of like those chemicals that they use in the hair salons and everything coming out of their skin, because burdock really gets in and like clears out deeply held toxins, but also trauma and things like that. So the plant spirit healing of burdock is said to be like it nourishes the nervous system, but it's also said to have a masculine energy and to help heal trauma related to the masculine energies. So it can bring up, like some people when they're meditating with burdock or drinking burdock may kind of experience sensations of grief or sadness or things like as it starts to go into those really deep held places and clear them out, particularly if there are, you know, issues around trauma or of caused or around, triggered around the idea of the masculine, and it can get in there and really like help to bring it out and heal it. So yeah, I think I might leave it there for now. I'm going to start to add things of like other ways that you can use burdock. I'll put in an information sheet on working with burdock, and we'll add to it as we go along. And I think we're good. So is there any questions as we head off into our day and as we head off into the challenge? You can absolutely put them in the group chat. Please, if anything comes up for you that you're not sure about, or you want to share your meditations, what happens in your meditations, please share them in the group. Anything at all, share in the group, and if you need to ask me anything privately, just start a private WhatsApp chat with me. And yeah, but if there's any questions this morning before we go, let me know. Yeah, go for it, Regan.
I've got a question. Do we need to drink the whole liter?
You don't have to, but it would be nice. So what I would say is drink as much as you can, and then if you've kind of had enough, just like drink it a bit later in the day, like try and drink the whole liter over the course of the day. But you can also like refrigerate it and come back to it, or you could warm it up and have it warmer later on in the day as well. You could add it, like you could pour it into your, if you're making spaghetti or a casserole, or like a slow cook meal or something, you could pour it into that. Yeah, it would be nice, but you do you.
Yeah, I don't think I really like the taste very much. So I'm like, what can I get away with?
I mean, you can, sometimes you find that as you drink it more, you will, like, the taste will settle for you, but you could also make a less strong infusion.
Okay. Yeah.
I really love the taste of it, but maybe halve what you're drinking and see how you go with that.
Sure. Thanks, love. Thank you for today.
No worries. Any other questions? No, I think we're good. All right. All right, beautiful people. Thank you for Kelly for opening up this space, and burdock is strangely timely for me. Thanks, Steph. And thank you. This feels really special. Is it totally fine to drink while breastfeeding a 3-month-old? Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, no, this is a very safe herb. I mean, if anything was to ever come up that you're not sure about, but one of the other things about burdock as well is that it has inulin in it, so it can be really good for digestion and everything. And I think that can help babies with colic when you're breastfeeding and things like that. So it's super safe. Yeah. All right, let's take a breath just to close together. So you can put your hand on your heart, and we'll just take a deep breath just to acknowledge each of us here together. Even if you're watching the recording, we're all in this circle together now. Thank you, burdock. Thank you, everybody, for being here. And I hope you all have a beautiful day. Bye, everyone. Bye.